Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss the various rumours around more possible defections, and they may not all be to Labour. How credible are the rumours, and if they are, which MPs may be prime targets for an escape from the Tory party? So first of all, what are the actual rumours? Well, in terms of what the mainstream media are publishing, there's supposedly an ex-minister in talks to defect to Labour. That doesn't narrow it down, could be almost anyone. There's a lot of ex-ministers, on the Conservative backbenchers. It's also been reported that there could be multiple defections. It could be like you end up with another one to Labour, one to the Lib Dems, one to Reform UK. But it's also worth being a bit cautious of these rumours. First of all, it's in the interest of the media to publish the rumours without really checking whether they're valid. It's exciting. And it's not like anything the government is doing right now is interesting enough, especially for a largely Tory media to want to report on. Everything that the government are doing right now is a bit of a mess. Secondly, rumours are easy to take hold. Like the situation is there's now been 2 defections from the Conservatives in just a few weeks. It's inevitable that the Tories are now going to be paranoid about more, especially as Labour say that there are more in the pipeline anyway. MPs from different parties, they do talk to each other all the time. You know, we see them, the public sight is them ranged against each other in the debating hall. But they do talk to each other in the tea rooms, bars and the restaurants of the parliamentary estate as well as elsewhere. Like sometimes it's on matters relating to their common role in a select committee. They work together on select committees. Or it could be a shared interest on some policy or other. Or maybe they're just both fans of the same football team or something. But with the spectre of more defections hanging over the Conservative Party, you can well imagine how Tory MPs will let their imagination run away with them. If they see any of their colleagues, especially if it's colleagues they're already not sure about, talking to Labour MPs now, they may think, what's that about? So rumours will start pretty easily and the media will think nothing of publishing them immediately. Political intrigue's a great source of content at any time, but when we have a zombie government, much more so. That being said, there is good reason to take Labour at their word that they have at least one more defection lined up. The Natalie Elphicke defection. Now, it has already worked in a practical sense because she voted with Labour on a very important amendment last night. And Labour won by a single vote. So if she hadn't defected last week, Labour would have lost that vote last night. But her inclusion is still putting noses out of joint in Labour. It would help enormously if there were to be another defection to distract from that one, from someone that would be more welcome. And speaking of that vote last night, we may narrow it down a bit. So there were 8 Conservative MPs who voted with Labour against most of their colleagues. That would make them potentials, would it not? Now, there were a lot of Conservative MPs who didn't vote at all. It was a free vote. There was no whipping. They weren't obligated. Many may not even have been Westminster at the time, but many may have been and just didn't want to vote for it. Some of the abstentions would also be possibles. But I seriously doubt that anyone who voted against Labour in a free vote last night is currently in the process of defecting. Now, I have in the past mentioned Tobias Ellwood as someone I wouldn't necessarily mind. He's very anti-Brexit, very vocally anti-Brexit. However, he voted against Labour last night, so I'm going to have to scratch him off. I don't think anyone in a free vote thinking of defecting to anyone, much less Labour, would vote against Labour. The other thing as well is like even how it would look if it was suddenly announced that Tobias Ellwood is joining Labour. Lots of us would go, hang on a minute, he voted against us in a really important vote that he wasn't even whipped to do. What's that about? But in terms of the 8 Conservative MPs who voted with Labour last night, most of them are non-starters. If you look down the list, Elliot Colburn, he's not a particularly remarkable MP as such. I don't really know a great deal about him one way or the other, but his partner is an extremely forthright right-wing commentator. You know, the full culture war works. Oh, very, very Tory. So this seems like an unlikely defection. It would cause a lot of awkwardness for him. Justin Tomlinson and Theresa Villiers have a seriously dodgy past. It would cause real problems if either of those defected. The 2 standout possibilities would be Jason McCartney and Caroline Noakes. Now, both of these have championed some decent causes. Both have actually voted with Labour against their own party whip in the past, funnily enough on both occasions against Boris Johnson's government. Of the two, however, Caroline Noakes would probably be the most welcome for her defence of trans rights, as well as many other human rights, and for her vocal opposition to GB News and dodgy Tees Valley projects. But like I said, it wouldn't definitely be someone who voted with Labour last night. It could be someone who abstained. We don't even know that there definitely is another abstention in the works, but I can believe it, because I think Labour would want to move on from the controversy of LPIC with another one. And it would make sense that they would think they'll get all the benefits of LPIC without too much aggro if they can end the period of aggro with another abstention that's like, oh yeah, that's much better. So then the next question would be, when would you trigger the defection? Again, assuming there is one. How do you fire, or when do you fire it off? First of all, I will always say, and I'll say again, I think the specific timing should be just before PMQs. It always should be. After last week's drama, I reckon every Tory MP in the chamber, just before PMQs tomorrow, is going to be scanning the opposition benches for someone they know. I can see Jonathan Gullis there with a pair of binoculars scanning the Labour benches like a seagull trying to find some chips. You could actually do that for a couple of weeks. It'd be hilarious. Make Tory MPs nervous ahead of PMQs, going, looking for someone about to stand up, or looking across, there's someone who's already gone there. Then maybe trigger the defection next week. Let them sweat this week, trigger it next week. After that, there's a week's recess. Let them glance nervously around ahead of the following PMQs in June. Wait another week, let them sweat another week. And then if you've got another defection in the pipeline, let that go then. It's hard to see how the Conservatives manage to carry on if that happens. Really is. If they try, it will just be tragic to watch. So I would certainly string it out. There might be good reason to trigger another one tomorrow, even if there are no others in the pipeline. First, Sunak has been trying to regain the initiative again this week. He had his rambling speech yesterday. Didn't really work. I didn't see it being given much emphasis in the news headlines. It's not just that I pointed out how the speech was bad. I mean, that's my view, right? But the news didn't even think much of it. It wasn't really prominent in the news headlines. Didn't seem to feature on any of the front pages of today's newspapers. But still, whatever the Tories are trying to do to get noticed, a defection tomorrow would yet again knock them off their platform and shine a spotlight back on the fact not even Conservative MPs think the Conservatives have the answers. But I would still personally say that the timing would be better next Wednesday. Make them sweat, let them relax a bit, raise their anxiety again next week, then give them reason to be anxious. Then let them spend the summer wondering when the next one is, even if there is no next one. Just keep dangling the carrot. You know, like I say, you know, Labour MPs do talk to Tory MPs. Just ribbing them in the lobby like, oh, you've got another, I hear we've got another one lined up. It might be next week, might be next week. You know, just keep poking at them. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.